You have probably heard that Astro is a great choice for making statically generated websites or blog post style websites. But Astro can be used to make what some would call enterprise applications or full stack applications with some very advanced features. Many platforms are supported, but I'd like to show you what's possible on Cloudflare. Let's focus today on local development. We will do deployment to Cloudflare in a following video. We are going to use the D1 database locally, which is basically SQLite, and we're going to get that working on our local machine today. Let's say you've got an idea for a website or SaaS offering. For example, I've been thinking for a while that all the calendaring applications don't really service my needs. I tend to sleep all day and stay awake all night, and I'd really like an application that's going to focus on my needs. The core feature that I would like to see is that you can only book meetings between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. This is really going to cut down on people disturbing me. I'm pretty sure that this could be the next unicorn. But before I invest 6 months of my life and a lot of financial investment into hosting, etc., maybe I should just check and make sure that the application works for me. What some people would call dog fooding. So I'll make the application for my private use, make sure it works. And when I've got everything perfect, so I'm going to roll it out and get that VC money coming in. What if I told you we could build a calendaring application for ourselves on our laptop in an hour without using AI, and it's not going to be limited? In the next few videos, I will show you how to take that and expand it to a complete SaaS offering. Let's get started. We're going to need Node. Let's have a look on spaceship.com. They've got some domains on here for less than $1. I want to go with nightcal.lol. Let's create our directory, cd inside, npm init, type is module. Let's go into VS Code. Let's clean the package.json to the minimum. First thing we want to install is Wrangler. It's a dev dependency. And as you'll see, there's an error related to sharp. Reinstall with these two additional modules. Next step is to install Drizzle ORM and Drizzle Kit. As you can see, I'm installing the release candidate 2 of version 1. RC2, as you can see at the time of this recording, was released 4 days ago. The Drizzle team have done some amazing work with this V1 release. If you're starting a new project, I would recommend RC2 because based on the current projection, the final release should be imminent. You're going to want to create these 3 scripts in your package.json. This would be db generate, db migrate, and db studio. I will cover exactly how these work in detail as we continue. We need to create a Wrangler configuration file. This has a schema, a name, compatibility date, and then main. On Cloudflare, your worker is your entry point. Any web request directed at your domain is going to come into your worker. Main here is basically explaining to Cloudflare where your worker file is. Next step, we're going to create our worker.ts file. All we have is an export. That's all we need for now. You can also see that we have the D1 database configuration. We have a binding called DB, a database name, which is called nightcal-db. And we're saying that the database ID is local only. We also have a migrations directory. The next file I'm going to add is the Drizzle config file. We are defining a directory for our schema. With Drizzle, it works a little bit differently to, for example, Rails. In the Rails world, you would write migrations, which would then change your database structure. With Drizzle, it works the other way around. you define your schema, and then Drizzle uses that schema to figure out what the migration should look like. Running npx Wrangler dev, this has started a server on port 8787. It's also created what Cloudflare calls a binding, a link to the nightcal DB. If I quit Wrangler and then I tree the .wrangler directory, this directory was just created when I ran the npx Wrangler dev command. So what are we looking at here? Wrangler has created our SQLite database. It's this file over here. If we look in Drizzle config, we said that the database URL is in this directory at nightcal.db. The Wrangler is managing our SQLite database, but we want to use the Drizzle ORM and Drizzle Kit to write migrations, migrate our database, and use Drizzle Studio. How do we connect the Wrangler world with the Drizzle world? We're going to set up a symlink to make it easier to refer to that SQLite database by name. This command has created a symlink from nightcal.db, which is in the root of the project, and it points at that metadata SQLite. Let's think a little bit about our application. It's a calendar. Let's be quite generic for the moment. Let's try creating a events table. With Drizzle, we are going to define an event model where we define the schema of our event. If we look at the Drizzle documentation for SQLite, specifically the data types, we can see it supports integer, real, text, blob, bools, big int, and numeric. But we don't see a date type, and that's going to be pretty critical for a calendar. With Drizzle, we can define our at field, which is going to be the date and time of an event in our calendar, as a timestamp. It'll be stored in SQLite as text, but Drizzle allows you to layer some logic or behavior on top of the SQLite database. Okay, that's great. We've defined an event model. Let's focus on this db generate command, which will run Drizzle Kit generate and then pass the Drizzle config. Our schema is being stored in the source models directory. You can create one model for each table in your schema, or you can actually just create one schema file. That's up to you. Seems more manageable to have one file per table. It also defines where you're going to store your migrations, the dialect, which is SQLite, and then a pointer, the URL, to our nightcal.db. Now remember, nightcal.db is a symlink to the Wrangler D1 instance. If I run npm run db generate, it has created a migration. One thing to notice is that this migration.sql is in a directory. This is a breaking change with DrizzleKit version 1. In 0-point versions, migrations did not have this nested directory. This SQL is going to create our event table. Next, I run npm run db migrate, which has run that migration. Drizzle contains a really cool application called Studio. If I open this URL, I have a web application which allows me to manage my data. I can change the schema within Drizzle Studio, but that is not recommended. If you're planning to create a serious application, you really want to be creating migrations as files, which you keep in version control. What I can do is manage the actual data. Click on the events table, click add record. This is a timestamp text column, a date picker, and I can choose to have my first meeting tomorrow, the 10th of May, 4 a.m. And then I'm going to click the green save button. So within 1 hour, we have created a serious application in the sense that this is a very good grounding on which we can now build an enterprise application or a SaaS application, we're probably going to need more information like the participants, the description, and a few other fields. But I'm going to leave those to the Full Stack Astro 102 video. Please subscribe to stay tuned for that one. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment in the video description.